Good morning. Are you committed? How committed are you? Are you showing up? Do the people you need to show up for know you're showing up? Today we're going to talk about commitment and showing up. You know, back in the spring of 2020, in a week's time, I had 3 heart attacks. 2 of them killed me. Since then, I've had COVID 3 times, congestive heart failure twice, and I've been sick a few times. Some of the doctors, family, and some well-wishers have intimated that, hey, maybe you need to slow down a little bit. Maybe you need to get you a nice rocking chair and sit on your front porch and yell at kids to get off my lawn. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on who you are and how you look at it, that's just not how I'm made. It's hard to see right off the bat, but today I'm wearing this sling as I tore up my rotator cuff, and I've got to keep this thing as stationary as possible. This would have been a pretty good excuse for me to just stay home and relax and maybe even just do a video sitting in front of my desk at my studio today. But that's not what I committed to. You see, my why is much bigger than this little rotator cuff. And sometimes there's pain, but inconvenience and pain are all part and parcel of the package if you're committed. The risk of sounding a little bit goofy, my whys, to me, are much bigger than my woes. And that's why I continue to show up. Regardless what happens, if I can show up, I will show up. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. What's your why? Or what are your whys? Are your whys big enough? Do your whys make you show up? Because you have 2 options. You can show up or shut up. You know, I was a Marine years ago, and I have had lots of guys in conversation say the phrase, you know, I almost went in the Marine Corps.
Shut up.
Don't say that to a Marine, because in our minds, you either did or you didn't. You showed up or you didn't show up. There's a saying among entrepreneurs that if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. In other words, if the thought of the loss of your why or disappointing your why or upsetting your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough and maybe you need to revisit. By the same token, if the happiness or joy of your why or the contentment or knowing that you're coming through and showing up consistently for your why brings you peace and happiness, then you know you're right on the money. As a Marine years ago, I learned lots of things. And among those things was the history of the Marine Corps and the titles and reputation that the Marine Corps had among its opponents. Devil Dog, Shock Troop, Blood-Sucking War Machine. We didn't get those names because we didn't show up. We didn't get those names because of lack of consistency. We got those names because we learned, we did, and we did it consistently, all the time. What if the Marines hadn't shown up? What if they missed all of those important engagements that we've gone through in history? What if they weren't prepared? Well, today, your why may look a whole lot different. In fact, the whole schema and the political footprint of our entire country and the whole world might look different. Their why was always huge. Their why and their passion were always there. In the beginning, showing up is difficult. Showing up is hard. It's inconvenient. It gets in the way. Sometimes you confuse your why. Sometimes you just don't feel like it. Every influencer on YouTube that I've watched so far has said through the beginning they struggled. They said their videos sucked. They didn't get any views, they didn't get any subscribers, they didn't get any traction. They thought about quitting, but they kept going on because their why was big enough. They showed up. They wanted to do something with this thing. How about you? If you're not sure what your why is, take some time, sit down, and figure it out. Because if you don't know your why, and your why is not big enough, you're not in it for the long run. You're not going to do the work, you're not going to learn the stuff, and you're not going to be consistent. I reach back to the wise old words of that old sage, Marky Mark. If you ain't in it to win it, then get the hell out. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining Morning Walk this morning. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.